So right now, to encourage you concerning the handwriting of God in form of the frame, the calendars, the stickers, the dew, and some others are coming. I will not introduce them here until they finish receiving the breath of life in the prayer mountain. I will come here and introduce it. God said this year, wow, a lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of things. And that remind me, take notes. There are 5 countries that are joking with God. There are 5 countries that are joking with God. They are joking with God, but the judgment of God is close to them. I see 5 swords descending upon the roof of these countries. It is better they make U-turn before that sword pierces the roof of their house. It's a parable. How can you see the whole earth playing around, playing it around, playing it around, throw it that way, throw it this way, throw it that way, throw it this way? Ha! Their case will be like those who dared building the Tower of Babel. You know the tower? Trying to get to where God is. And God proved to them that He is the supreme God by placing language confusion upon them. When they ask you, go and bring shovel, you go and bring a digger. I say, go and bring shovel. You go back and go and carry water. That was when they know that trouble has started. God is God. You cannot dare God and go free. There are 5 countries that are playing with God, tampering with the nature of God, tampering with the nature of God, trying to make it artificial for selfish, classic, and materialism. 5 countries. Except there's no God. Remember, this world you are playing with, God is the owner. And He said His anger is coming. The sword is pointing now. I pray it will not pierce the roof of your house before you turn around. Let me speak in parable this time. There are 2 gaps. These 2 gaps has many letters. The first gap, the first letter on this first gap is A. And the last letter of this gap is A. There's another gap. The first letter of this gap is J. The second letter, the last letter of this gap is N. There's another gap. The first letter of this gap is C. And the last letter of this gap is A. There's another gap. The first letter of this gap is F. And the last letter of this gap is E. There's another gap. The first letter of this gap is R. And the last letter of this gap is A. He who has wisdom should decode. And these 5 gaps are playing with God's intelligence. And God says, it is time to act. You and I will see it happen. Turning with kick, beat, hit. And you forgot there's somebody called Creator, Supreme Being. What if in the course of kicking and kicking and kicking, nature to artificial, and He took you? Would you be alive to do that? You should be afraid of that man. That big God. You should be afraid of Him. These 5 countries are playing with fire. Serious one. Let's watch and see. Thank you. So, thank you. That's the message. Thank you.